There is no doubt that the car market is cooling. The days of a double-digit month-over-month price increases or price decreases, those days are over. But just because the car market has undoubtedly cooled absolutely does not mean that the car market has returned to normal. In fact, in the last year alone, the automotive industry has been hammered with strikes, production issues, inventory problems, hackers, interest rates, and falling buyer sentiment, all leading to what seems like a slowing car market with slowing demand. But in this video, I want to dive into this a bit deeper because in the last couple of days, Manheim and Cox Automotive have released their monthly wholesale vehicle report that dives into wholesale vehicles. And as you guys know, if you've seen this channel before, then you know that while I go through this report, I also dive into the used car market as a whole. What are used car prices looking like, and is right now a good time to buy a used car? So let's dig into it. According to Manheim and Cox Automotive, wholesale used vehicle prices were lower in September compared to August, with the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index falling to 203, which was a decline of 5.3% from a year ago. And while prices did fall, which is good, they actually fell less than they normally do this time of year, which isn't great. While in September, MMR values did see decreases in every week of the month of September, between 2014 and 2018, the used car market saw an average decrease per week of 1.8%. And even though in this September we did see a decrease overall for the month, we didn't see that level of decrease throughout the month and as consistently. And this year in September, depreciation trends were less than typical for this time of year, even though in the last week of September, declines were actually larger than anticipated and larger than normal for this time of year. MMR retention, which is a metric that we use, it basically indicates whether or not cars are selling for a discount. An MMR retention of 100% means that a car is selling for its true MMR value, while an MMR retention of over 100% shows that a car is selling for above its value, and below 100% means that a car is selling for a discount. And in the month of September, MMR retention was at 98.5%, which is indicative of the fact that cars were selling for a discount for the month of September, which is good news. The average daily sales conversion rate for the month fell to 60.3%, which was a decline of 2 points compared to the month of August, but was also higher than what we typically see this time of year. To give you a point of comparison, the daily sales conversion rate averaged out to be about 53% for the month of September's in the previous 3 years. Now, when it goes to individual vehicle segments, I think you're going to be a bit surprised to see what types of cars are seeing some significant declines and other ones which seems to have slowed down in the last couple of months. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the total car market has declined by 5.3% year over year. Non-EVs have declined by 5.7% and EVs have declined by 8.7%, which is the highest of any other segment of vehicle. But anyone who has been following the car market over the last year or two, you should absolutely not be surprised by that because electric vehicles have been, generally speaking, depreciating at a much faster rate than other types of cars, and the fact that in the last year EVs have only depreciated by 8.7%, I'm going to go as far as to say that I think that that's quite good. Luxury cars have declined by 3.4%, which I think is surprisingly low. SUVs and crossovers have declined by 5.6%, compact cars by 5.7%, and midsize cars by 6.4%. Across the different segments of vehicles, we aren't seeing these huge discrepancies that we once did with vehicle depreciation, and for the most part, most vehicles are depreciating around the same amount with the exception of luxury cars. The one segment that I didn't mention, and you may notice, is pickup trucks, and in my opinion, pickup trucks have depreciated a surprisingly large amount, and surprisingly similar to the amount that electric vehicles have depreciated. Earlier, I mentioned that electric vehicles have depreciated by 8.7% year over year, while pickup trucks have depreciated by 8%, so only 0.7% less than electric vehicles, which is surprisingly bad and definitely is not a good look for pickup trucks. Now, you may be wondering, why are pickup trucks seeing such heavy depreciation? And I think that this is a classic example of supply and demand. Automakers are producing an absolute crapload of pickup trucks, and as a result, they are sitting on dealership lots because there just aren't enough people who want to buy them. I mean, look no further than just some of the massive discounts that you can see across different automakers. But on the topic of vehicle segments, let's take a look at Car Gurus and let's check out some of the different vehicles and indexes that they have so we can see how these cars are trending in the last 30 days, 90 days, and 365 days. Now you can see here that I filtered down this graph to show roughly the last year of data from October 6, 2023 to October 6, 2024, and you can see that the graph has started to level off. It wasn't that long ago where we were seeing, pretty sharp declines for the better part of the year, And you can see here that for more than half of the year, the car market has been relatively flat. Sure, we have seen some minor decreases right here, some increase in prices with some flat lines, followed by some decrease in pricing, and more recently we've seen some increase. And while the car market has seen declines in the last year, which is no doubt a good thing, those declines have started to slow down, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, they are no doubt normalizing as well. In fact, in the last 30 days and in the last 90 days, the car market has actually gone up, while in the last year, it's gone down by 5.4%. You can see here that across different body styles, every single body style of vehicle has seen price increases, which certainly isn't ideal. While if we look at the last 90 days, you can see that it's a bit of a mixed bag, but still the majority of cars are seeing price increases. While if we look at year over year, the majority are still seeing price declines with the exception of convertibles and coupes. If we scroll down, you can see that unfortunately, the vast majority of different automakers are seeing 30-day and even 90-day price increases, which is definitely not ideal, but automakers are still seeing, for the most part, year-over-year declines. In fact, Tesla, which has been a pretty big depreciation loser, has seen price increases in the last 30 days as well as the last 90 days. While there are still some losers in the car market, including the Wagoneer, which has declined in the last 30, 90, and year data, Scion and Saturn, but those are discontinued, so who really cares? Polestar is still a loser, as is Jaguar and Genesis, and Fiat. Now, you may be wondering, why is the car market going up short term? And while that is a good question, the answer is we really don't know. The car market is overall cyclical, just like any market out there. And while over the last couple of years, we've seen some massive swings, both positive and negative with the car market, that is certainly the exception and not the rule. And overall with the car market, we can expect to see month-over-month increases and month-over-month declines, depending on market conditions, the economy, and even the time of the year. And so while I certainly don't love to see that in the last 30 and 90 days, different car makers are seeing price appreciation, not price depreciation, I will also say that I don't think that this is entirely rare, and I also don't think that this is a red flag either, at least as of now. And while Car Gurus is showing us that there are many different cars out there that are showing price increases in the short term, one of the best ways to actually get a gauge of what cars are really selling for is to look at vehicle listings. What cars are being listed for sale and at what price points, how long are they sitting for sale, and how often and by how much are dealerships discounting them by? This is how you can really tell the demand behind certain cars. And so in order to get a gauge of that, let's head over to cars.com. Now with cars.com, I like to set my filters to basically what you would find with something like a 3-year-old index. Cars that are used, maybe 3 or 4 years old, that you could buy for between $25,000 to $45,000. And when it comes to cars with actual discounts, what I'm finding on platforms like cars.com is that discounts are sort of a hit or a miss. There are some sellers that are actively marking down their cars. For example, we have this somewhat brand new Jeep Wrangler, which only has 98 miles, but is a 2023 model, which is selling for below MSRP. And while this car is selling for a discount and it has been marked down $6,100 over the last nearly a year, I will say that a $6,000 discount for a 2023 model vehicle that hasn't been sold, that is far too little, and that car should be discounted more. So I'm not impressed with that one. We also have something like this 2022 Volvo XC90 T5. I gotta admit that this photo absolutely sucks. This car is being marketed as a good deal, and it's listed for $34,711. And you can see that technically speaking, at least based off of this deal gauge, it is considered to be a pretty decent and below market value deal. This car is also actively being discounted and has been discounted by nearly $2,300 in the last 42 days. And while you can absolutely find these cars that are being marked down, specifically with certain makes and models, for example, Lincolns are marking down their vehicles quite a lot, as are really any car that's under the Stellantis umbrella, whether you're looking at Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Fiat, all of these different makes and models are discounting pretty heavily. I do also find that there are a lot of vehicle sellers that actually aren't discounting their cars aggressively at all, even if they're sitting for extended periods of time. For example, this 2021 BMW 330i, which is listed for just under $31,000. This car has been listed for 23 days and it's only seen a $1,000 price reduction, which was done 3 days after the car was listed, and there's been nothing since. Or you have this 2022 Toyota Prius LE, which has about 15,500 miles and it's listed for $26,915. This car has been listed for 34 days, and it has also only seen a $1,000 price reduction, which was given on the vehicle exactly 1 month after it was listed. And while these are examples of vehicles that haven't been discounted by a whole lot, they at least have been discounted by a bit, Because believe it or not, there are a lot of cars out there available today on cars.com that have been sitting for extended periods of time and haven't had any discounts at all. In fact, there are a couple of examples that I found where prices had actually been increased on specific cars, which is just crazy. For example, we have this 2023 Buick Envision Preferred All-Wheel Drive. This car is listed for $31,250 and it has 4,600 miles on it. And while this car has been listed for 167 days, this car has only seen $700 in price reductions, and most recently it's actually seen a price increase of $1,750, which is crazy. Or we see something like this 2022 Genesis, which has 7,600 miles and it's listed for $45,000. This car has been listed for only 12 days, and while it did initially see a price increase of $500, it then shortly after saw a price decrease. In fact, whenever I was scripting this video and I originally found that listing, that price decrease on October 8th hadn't been applied yet, only the price increase from earlier in the month. So they definitely increased the price. They realized nobody was biting, so then they decreased it once again. The point is, there are a lot of car dealerships and car sellers that aren't wanting to decrease their prices, despite the fact that there isn't a ton of demand across the car market as a whole. So what this tells us is that as things stand today, the car market is absolutely a hit or a miss, and it's more important than ever to make sure that if you are a car buyer, that you're looking for the right car at the right price, that you're really doing your due diligence to make sure that you get a good deal on that car, and that you make sure that you have a deep understanding of what cars are worth today in 2024, and that you don't take a dealership's word on what cars were priced at in 2023 or in 2022. Because I am a firm believer that there are still so many dealerships throughout the country that are having a hard time grasping with the reality that car prices have gone down, and the days of influxed car prices due to skyrocketing demand and limiting supply, those days are over, and the car prices need to reflect that. Now, one thing that I am noticing with the private party market on platforms like Facebook, and for those of you who don't know, I purchase nearly all of my vehicles from Facebook Marketplace, from my personal car, my Tesla Model 3 Performance, to my Turo cars like a Mazda 3, a Toyota Yaris, a Ford Escape. I buy the vast majority of my cars through Facebook, so I am incredibly familiar with the platform and I look at it multiple times per day. And one thing that I've noticed is that in the last month or so, not only are great deals very hard to come by, but a lot of cars are just complete duds, with many cars just simply being priced far too high for what you get. And when you do find cars that are closer to their fair or below market value price point, they have major issues like hidden check engine lights, sign of water damage, and just overall pieces of junk. So I have found that with the car market right now, not only are you seeing cars that I would consider to be overpriced on platforms like cars.com and at dealerships, but you're also seeing it on Facebook Marketplace as well. And I think that all of this points to the fact that this is just a cyclical change in the car market as a whole, given the time of year. And I don't think that these current car conditions are here to stay by any means. And I think that this really hammers more nails into the coffin of the point that you should not buy a car right now if you're looking to buy a car. We are primed for the month of December to be a really strong one for the car market. And if I was a car buyer, I would wait until then if you can. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.